Good morning. Today I'm going to explain a very famous chapter of First Flight book, and this is chapter 4 from the diary of Anne Frank. So the full name of Anne Frank was Annelise Marley Frank. Do you think that she is a writer, poet, or philosopher? No, not at all. She was a simple Jewish 13 years old girl who got a diary on her 30th birthday from her father, and unfortunately, she used that diary in the gloomiest period when she, along with her family, were hiding in a secret annex for the fear of Nazis. Her diary beautifully reflected her feeling, her thinking, and her untold suffering, which she couldn't express to anyone. She was staying with her parents and her elder sister, and there were 13 more people staying in the same annex. But she didn't want to express her innermost feeling to anyone because she was of the view that anyone can betray them and they will be shot dead. Though she was not a very famous personality, she had a desire to achieve fame. Once she told that I can't imagine having to live like mother and all the women who go about their work and are then forgotten. I need to have something besides a husband and children to devote myself to. I don't want to have lived in vain like most people. I want to be useful and bring enjoyment to the people. Even those I have never met, I want to go on living even after my death. Her dream came true when her diary got published. She became the most famous personality of the world, and her diary became the second most popular book after Bible, which has been translated into 70 languages. It also became the part of classic war literature. People wanted to know how the people in the fear of Nazis were living their life. Especially, she was the ultimate victim of Holocaust. What is Holocaust? Holocaust is a widespread destruction. So, in that adverse situation, how did the Jews survive? This was the interesting subject for the readers. Writing in a diary is a really strange experience for someone like me, not only because I haven't written anything before, but also because it seemed to me that later on neither I nor anyone else will be interested in the musing of a 13 years old schoolgirl. Oh well, it doesn't matter. I feel like writing and I have an even greater need to get all kinds of things off my chest. So, writing a diary was really a strange experience for Anne because she never wrote a diary before. And she was knowing the fact that nobody will be interested in the experience of a 13 years old girl because it's quite tender age. Nobody likes to read a poem who is written by a small boy or small girl because they didn't have the experience of the life that time. So, this is the reason that she was aware of the fact that nobody will show their interest. But she had a greater need to pull her feeling out. She wanted to pour out her feeling. And in that adverse situation, she had a lot of time and she was sitting listless. She has no work. So, what will she do? So, expressing your innermost feeling gives you relaxation. Paper has more patience than people. I thought of this saying on one of those days when I was feeling a little depressed and was sitting at home with my chin in my hand, bored and listless, wondering whether to stay or go out. I finally stayed where I was brooding. Yes, paper does have more patience, and since I am not planning to let anyone else read this stiff backed notebook, grandly referred to as diary, unless I should ever find a real friend, it probably won't make a bit of difference. So it's a fact that nobody is interested in your suffering, in your pain. And even though they hear you, they will either get bored, permeate it, or mock at you. So you must have experienced this scenario during COVID-19 quarantine period. And I think that that time you had more means of communication, you had social media through which you can connect to the entire world, you can see whatever is going around you, you can express your innermost feeling through a post. But you imagine the situation where Anna was staying, there was no any means of communication there. Now I'm back to the point that prompted me to keep a diary in the first place. I don't have a friend. The second thing which forced her to write a diary was that she didn't confide in to anybody. She didn't want to share her personal feeling to anybody because she had a fear that anybody might convey this in the outer world and they will be caught. To enhance the image of this long awaited friend in my imagination, I don't want to jot down the facts in this diary the way most people would do, but I want the diary to be my friend, and I'm going to call this friend Kitty. So, most of the people write the facts and the factual detail of our everyday happening, but she's not going to do that. She's not going to write the observed fact, but she is going to treat this diary as a friend, and she named it as Kitty. Now, she starts her diary by providing a brief details of her life, as she knew that if she will start the story directly, the readers would not connect to her story. She had a loving father, mother, and a sister named Margot. She had a grandmother also, with whom Anne and her sister stayed when their parents migrated to Holland. Later on, her elder sister went to Holland and she followed her after 2 and 3 months, where she was served as a present for her sister. And in 1941, her grandmother fell ill and passed away. She had a great attachment with her grandmother, so she still loved and remembered her sweet words. Now, after giving the detail, she brings the story to the present day. Dearest Kitty, our class is quaking to its boots. Now she draws beautiful picture of her classroom on the result day when everyone is worrying and guessing who is going to pass, who is going to go in the next form. There are so many dummies that about a quarter of the class should be kept back, but unexpectedly all such student passed. She calls teachers to be very unpredictable creature. Now she mentioned the name of Mr. Kissing, the maths teacher, who was highly annoyed by her chatting in the classroom. After several warnings, he assigned her a homework. Write an essay on the subject chatterbox. Since Anne didn't like to write aimlessly, she didn't like rambling on, she gave authentic reason and logic to prove that talking is a child's trait, and she will try to control her, but since her mother talked more than her, so she has derived this trait from her mother. Mr. Kissing laughed at it, but in the next class, when again she starts talking, this time he gives her a strange topic to write, and the topic was quack, quack, quack. All class burst into laughter because it was really very hard to write on any sound. But this time Anne showed her best talent of being a writer. She used sarcasm in her essay hitting at Mr. Kissing. The essay was about a father swan with three ducklings who were beaten to death by the father because they quacked. Mr. Kissing understood her tone, where cruel swan represented Mr. Kissing, who killed his kids only for talking. So in this way, he decided not to torture her in future.